Have you ever noticed that your brain doesn't always play on your side? It's as if there are two versions of you, one that wants to grow and one that just wants to survive. And almost always, it's the second one that wins. But what if I told you that the problem was never a lack of strength? It was a lack of leadership. Napoleon Hill said that those who don't master their minds end up mastered by them. And that's precisely why so many people work hard, but remain stuck in the same place. In this video, you will discover how to reprogram your brain to obey your decisions and not your fears. You'll understand how fear distorts reasoning, how emotions hinder your results, and how to align thought, faith, and action to generate real prosperity. Not with magical promises, but with method, consistency, and the power of focus. And best of all, I'll show you how to turn limiting beliefs into fuel for your millionaire mindset. So do the following. Like this video, because what comes next could be a game changer for your mind. And subscribe to the channel. Here we're not talking about cheap self-help. We're talking about self-control, mental reprogramming, and how to create wealth from scratch with faith and strategy. Now, take a deep breath. Because from today on, you will learn to make your brain obey you. From survival mode to build mode. Recovering presence and clarity. He begins by reminding us that when the mind wakes up in alarm mode, everything gets tight. Short-sightedness, shallow breathing, impulsive decisions. A mentor would show us that breaking out of this loop begins with 120 seconds of awareness, inhaling through the nose, holding it, releasing it slowly. This small reset opens space for wealth thinking and turns off the panic pilot. From there, it switches from react to observe, and the body gets the message. It's the key to rekindling creative imagination for wealth without romanticizing anything. In practice, he proposes a morning micro-ritual: water, breathing, 3 lines of intention, and a 25-minute block of deep focus. This simple routine creates focus and discipline for wealth before WhatsApp says otherwise. If you're going to read, don't just read anything. Start with Think and Grow Rich, Atomic Habits, and a chapter on personal finance, basic financial markets, savings, compound interest. So, mental reprogramming. It stops being a pretty phrase and becomes a useful repetition. Light humor helps. Coffee is great, but what really wakes you up is making decisions. For those who need quick traction, he offers a realistic example. A freelancer with a chaotic schedule who separates mornings for prospecting and afternoons for delivery. 3 contacts per day, a simple spreadsheet, and a weekly review. In 30 days, the pattern changes because he adopted solution thinking, not problem thinking, and practiced how to create wealth from scratch with what I already had. No glamour, just consistency. This is where the millionaire mentality stops being a poster and becomes a habit. And this habit, curiously, starts to ask for something more. The invisible impact of fear on your financial life. Fear is the most polite imposter there is. It doesn't come screaming. It whispers, "It's not the time. Better not to risk it. Wait a little longer." And meanwhile, the years pass. The mentor often says that fear is a great censor, but a terrible driver. It serves to show you risk, not to decide for you. When fear takes the wheel, the brain switches wealth thinking by survival thinking. And in this silent exchange, the creative imagination for wealth goes offline. Imagine a talented professional who, out of fear of charging a fair price, spends years accepting low rates. He calls it humility, but deep down it's financial self-sabotage disguised. When you finally do an honest calculation of the cost of your time, you realize that the cheap was actually costing you too much. With mental reprogramming, start sending proposals clearly, deliver with confidence, and notice the magic. The right clients stay. Focus and discipline for wealth. That's it. courage to bank on the real value you deliver. Fear also creates invisible traps. Some people live with the feeling that money will disappear, so they spend it all quickly before it disappears. It's an ancestral reflex. The brain thinks it's protecting itself, but it's just repeating scarcity. A mentor would say, "Stop spending to alleviate and start investing to expand." It could be a Treasury Selic bond, a simple real estate fund, or a finance book. No matter how small the step, what matters is exchanging impulse for strategy. That's how that solution thinking, not problem thinking. On the journey of millionaire mentality, fear is the first dragon to be tamed. It doesn't disappear, but it learns to ride in the back seat. When a person breathes before reacting, the body leaves alarm mode and activates calculation mode. They can plan, negotiate, think about deadlines and investments without collapsing. This is where butterflies in the stomach become a compass. And if there's faith in motion, there's how to create wealth from scratch. Not by luck, but by emotional training. The mentor reminds us that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's direction despite it. And this direction comes from daily practice in choosing a new response to the old scare. When the bill arrives, instead of panic, strategy. When doubt arises, study. When fear screams, prayer and a spreadsheet. This practice repeated opens space for creative imagination for wealth flourish. And over time, fear ceases to be an enemy and becomes fuel. However, there is an even more subtle force that can sabotage all of this, even without any noise. Mental reprogramming. How to change patterns and create new results. Reprogramming your mind isn't about flipping a switch. It's about rebuilding the house where your thoughts live. The mentor often says that the mind is like a garden. If you don't plant it, the weeds grow on their own. Every old belief you question makes room for the wealth-thinking flourish. But this doesn't happen through isolated reading or motivational phrases. It happens through the repetition of new associations. Mental reprogramming is the training of thinking consciously until the subconscious learns the way. He teaches that all lasting change relies on three pillars: language, environment, and routine. Language creates identity. I'm disciplined. I can learn numbers. The environment reinforces focus, books, videos, people who live what they say. And routine solidifies identity. It's what turns ideas into muscles. Thus, the millionaire mentality, where the person is not defined by the extract, but by constancy. It is at this point that focus and discipline for wealth, they stop being theory and become a lifestyle. To apply this, the mentor proposes a daily writing exercise. Every morning, write down 3 sentences of intention and 1 of learning from the previous day. Within a few days, the mind begins to recognize patterns. When something goes wrong, it doesn't repeat, "I'm a failure," but asks, "What is this mistake trying to teach me?" This simple exchange is solution thinking, not problem thinking. The person goes from being a victim to a strategist of their own reality. And that is the essence of how to create wealth from scratch. There are many examples. A barber who stopped saying, "The neighborhood has no money," and started thinking, "How can I deliver more value?" A teacher who recorded free videos to generate demand. A cleaning lady who organized her schedule and started charging by the weekly package. None of them won the lottery, but they all practiced creative imagination for wealth. They visualized possibilities before they had them. And the brain, obediently, began to seek out opportunities aligned with this new vision. And mental reprogramming, it's at its core, an act of applied faith. It's believing that your mind can learn new paths even after decades of going in circles. It's understanding that prosperity doesn't begin in the bank account, but in the synapses. When the mind learns to think slowly and act in a timely manner, chaos transforms into clarity. And when there is clarity, a quiet strength is born, a kind of strategic peace that paves the way for something even more powerful. Emotional mastery over money. Emotional mastery, the secret behind making the right financial decisions. Mastering your emotions is what separates those who grow from those who sabotage themselves. The mentor often says that money doesn't accept the command of a disorganized heart. When emotion speaks louder, you buy relief, not purpose. Self-control isn't coldness. It's applied wisdom. It's the space between impulse and decision. In that gap lies the wealth thinking, the chance to choose what builds, instead of what just comforts for 5 minutes. He teaches that emotion is energy with direction. If you repress it, it becomes anxiety. If you cultivate it, it becomes fuel. The secret is to align feeling with purpose. When fear arrives, you don't deny it. You ask, what is it trying to protect? This translation transforms panic into a given. Thus, the heart and mind become allies. This is where focus and discipline for wealth. They cease to be rigid and become self-care. Calmed emotions restore clarity and judgment. Practical examples? An entrepreneur who would stop everything when she saw her account was in the red began creating a calm ritual. Breathing, a spreadsheet, a short prayer, and minimal action. In 15 minutes, chaos turned to clarity. A designer who trembled when sending quotes began practicing assertive phrases in front of the mirror. This is mental reprogramming emotional. Practice until your body believes it. Small actions create big results. Calm is the new luxury of millionaire mentality. The mentor explains that uncontrolled emotions create financial noise. Anger leads to impulsive spending, guilt hinders investment, and euphoria makes impossible promises. Emotional mastery is the antidote to this. He teaches us to pause before acting, review before deciding, and be grateful before spending. Gratitude is a decision-making filter. It transforms "I need to" into "I choose to." And conscious choices are the foundation of how to create wealth from scratch with serenity. Ultimately, emotional mastery is like tuning an instrument before a show. The audience may not see it, but they feel it. When the mind and heart are on the same wavelength, prosperity flows without noise. It is from this harmony that true creative imagination for wealth, the one who sees opportunities instead of threats. And it is at this point that the mentor opens a new map. If the heart has already learned to obey, it's time to teach the body to execute strategically. Strategy and action, when plan meets purpose. The mentor always says that a purpose without a plan is a dream, and a plan without purpose is an empty spreadsheet. The difference between the two lies in acting with direction. When a person unites purpose and strategy, they stop running in circles and start building. Wealth thinking. It doesn't reside in grandiose ideas, but in consistent actions. It's getting up from your chair with a clear roadmap, even if the first step still seems small. Wealth is the sum of good decisions, often repeated. He teaches that all sustainable prosperity has a foundation: clear goals, weekly priorities, and review rituals. It's not glamour, it's routine. It's knowing what you're going to do before the day begins. Those who plan with purpose live at the rhythm of millionaire mentality. Less rushing, more direction. It's looking at the calendar and seeing in it the proof. A focus and discipline for wealth time stops being a villain and becomes your vision's best employee. In the real-life examples he gives, there's a barber who created monthly packages to create predictability, a cake maker who standardized flavors and prices, and a consultant who made Sunday his day for results analysis. None of them started with a lot of money, but they all invested. How to create wealth from scratch with what they had at hand. A skill, a notebook, and the courage to adjust. And this is what the mentor calls micro-victories. Small victories that build great empires. Strategy also needs soul. It's not just about numerical goals, but about coherence between values and attitudes. Those who overpromise and underdeliver lose energy. Those who act with integrity multiply results. Prosperity is applied coherence. Therefore, mental reprogramming, it must include ethics, gratitude, and purpose. This is what ensures that growth doesn't destroy peace. Without coherence, success weighs heavily. With it, success is sustained. Finally, he shows that action without reflection becomes haste, and reflection without action becomes delay. The sweet spot is the middle ground, acting judiciously and revising with humility. It is in this dance between purpose and execution that the creative imagination for wealth, new ideas emerge, opportunities appear, paths open. And the mentor smiles as he says, "When the plan meets the purpose, the future follows." But there's one detail that few realize, and that can accelerate all these results in surprising ways. The power of environment. How people, places, and habits shape your field of thriving. The mentor says that the environment is the soil where your beliefs grow. It can be fertile or toxic. If you spend all your time with people who complain, your mind learns to complain too. And if you're surrounded by people who think big, your energy adjusts to expansion. Wealth thinking doesn't thrive on complaints. It needs conversations that push you to the next level. Sometimes, changing your environment is more transformative than changing your plan. He often cites a simple rule. Watch where your conversations take you. If you feel drained after a meeting, something is wrong. But if you leave inspired, you're on the right track. It's the invisible power of collective vibration. An aligned group can accelerate progress by months. It's what Napoleon Hill called a mastermind. When minds unite for a common purpose, a greater intelligence is born, and it's within this that focus and discipline for wealth, they stand lightly. The mentor also talks about physical spaces. Your bedroom, your office, even your cell phone wallpaper are mental anchors. A disorganized environment sends the brain the message that there's no room for new things. Therefore, he teaches us to take care of what's around us, eliminate excess, organize our desks, and exchange clutter for simple beauty. This physical cleansing is a practical way to mental reprogramming. The external educates the internal, and the internal sustains the external. And then there are the invisible habits, the ones that make up the air you breathe every day. The endless scrolling, the comparisons, the disturbed sleep, the "I'll see later" habit. These are micro-leaks of energy. The mentor advises swapping a small habit for a powerful one. 10 minutes of reading, jotting down ideas before bed, walking while listening to something that nourishes your millionaire mentality. Little by little, the internal environment changes, and with it, opportunities begin to respond. Finally, he reminds us that prosperity is coherence between inside and outside. You don't attract abundance by living in a mindset of scarcity. The right environment isn't a luxury, it's a strategy. A group of calm minds, a clean space, and a consistent ritual are worth more than luck. And it's in this scenario that solution thinking, not problem thinking, becomes natural. Because when the environment vibrates toward expansion, destiny has no choice but to follow suit. The power of forgiveness and detachment, clearing the inner channels of abundance. The mentor often says that forgiveness is the soul's detergent. Without it, no prosperity remains clean for long. Holding on to resentment is like trying to fill a leaky bucket. No matter how much you achieve, something slips through. Forgiving isn't forgetting. It's letting go of the burden. When someone releases hurt, the energy that was previously drained by pain transforms into creative force. Wealth thinking begins to breathe, and the mind begins to see possibilities again. He teaches that detachment is the other side of forgiveness, the courage to let go of what has already served its purpose. Sometimes it's not a person, but an old dream, a pattern, a job, an image of yourself. Focus and discipline for wealth includes knowing what to let go. Thriving requires space. Just as a tree doesn't grow if its roots are stuck in rocks, Life doesn't flourish if the heart is stuck in the past. Letting go is an act of practical faith. To illustrate, he tells the story of a businessman who, after an unfair partnership, decided to sue his former partner. For years, he lived trapped in revenge. When he understood the emotional cost, he gave up the fight and started over. In less than a year, he built a new, simpler, and more profitable business. Mental reprogramming came with forgiveness, and money as a natural consequence. Prosperity is clean energy flowing without blockages. The mentor explains that forgiving is making space in the mind for creative imagination for wealth. Because you can't create the new with your heart tied to the old. The energy of resentment occupies the same space that could be used for an idea, a solution, or a new opportunity. Therefore, forgiveness is a financial strategy, not just a spiritual one. When your heart is unburdened, your reasoning clears, and solution thinking, not problem thinking, takes the place of the complaint. Finally, he reminds us, forgiveness is not an event, it's a practice. Like abundance, it's practiced every day. Letting go isn't losing. It's allowing life to rearrange what's out of place. It's the same principle as how to create wealth from scratch. Making room for a new beginning. When you free yourself from those who hurt you, you also free yourself from the role of victim. And this is the first step to living with ease. Ready to receive without fear what the next cycle has to offer. Unshakable faith. The invisible force that sustains all prosperity. The mentor often says that faith is the Wi-Fi of the invisible. You can't see it, but you feel it when you're connected. And when that connection is lost, everything feels heavy, slow, and directionless. Faith is the fuel of wealth thinking, which keeps the mind creative even when the world screams scarcity. Those who have faith don't run away from reality. They simply decide to believe that it can be transformed. It is this active belief that shapes opportunities and transforms doubt into momentum. He teaches that faith is not waiting. It is acting while believing. Millionaire mentality. It's not built in temples, but in Monday's decisions. Waking up, reviewing goals, adjusting expenses, maintaining consistency. Faith isn't a pretty speech. It's silent persistence. When someone combines prayer with a spreadsheet, heaven and earth meet. It's at this point that focus and discipline for wealth gains soul, and what was once an effort becomes a pleasure to build. The mentor cites the example of a woman who, after going bankrupt twice, chose to be grateful instead of giving up. She created a small studio, and every day before opening the store, she would repeat, "God bless the hands that work." Within a year, she doubled her revenue. This is mental reprogramming of faith. Replace "it won't work" with "I'll try one more time." Faith is the muscle of constancy. The more you exercise it, the more sustainable results appear. Faith is also vision. When the world only sees ruins, the person of faith already imagines reconstruction, creative imagination for wealth. It's born in this place of serene confidence, where there's no rush, but purpose. It's the same power that moved people like Joseph in Egypt, Mandela in prison, or entrepreneurs who rebuilt businesses from scratch. They all had something in common: the certainty that the impossible is only possible in the making. Finally, the mentor reinforces, unshakable faith is a practice, not a miracle. It's looking at chaos and continuing to plant. It's the art of keeping your heart calm when the situation screams fear. It's the silent secret of how to create wealth from scratch, because where there is faith, there is sustained action. Mature faith is recognized by its serenity. Those who truly believe no longer run, they just walk. With solution thinking, not problem thinking, knowing that the right time always rewards those who do not give up. Sustaining vibration, how to stay consistent on difficult days. The mentor says that the true test of prosperity isn't the good day, it's the gray day. It's when nothing seems to work, and yet you choose to remain at peace. Maintaining a high vibration isn't about denying chaos. It's about knowing how to dance with it. Millionaire mentality doesn't collapse in the face of difficulty. It adapts. Because those who build with faith and method understand. Life is not a straight line. It's a cycle. And each turn is a new chance to mature wealth thinking. On days when fear speaks loudest, he recommends 3 simple remedies: silence, gratitude, and movement. Silence calms the system. Gratitude clears the gaze, and movement rekindles hope. It is in this sequence that the body realigns itself. This practice is a living form of mental reprogramming, because it reminds the mind that there is still power even in the midst of fatigue. It is on difficult days that the muscle of constancy grows, the secret of all focus and discipline for wealth. He tells the story of an entrepreneur who, after losing clients, decided to create free content about her work. The donation opened new doors. When asked what she did, she replied, "I kept my vibration high, even without knowing what was to come." This is the essence of how to create wealth from scratch. Transform scarcity into seed. The trained mind does not despair. It asks, "What can I do today with what I have?" It is the solution thinking, not problem thinking in action. The mentor also speaks of the importance of nourishing yourself spiritually. Read something inspiring, listen to good conversations, and take care of your body. Low energy demands a strong routine. He recalls that great names, from Ayrton Senna to Louisa Trajano, faced stormy days but never lost their bearings. They cultivated rituals that grounded them. Pray, meditate, and record victories and goals. Thus, creative imagination, for wealth remained active, even in the midst of chaos. Finally, he teaches that maintaining coherence means choosing firmness, not rigidity. Firmness adapts without breaking. Rigidity breaks. Sustaining your vibration is remembering why, even when the how isn't yet clear. It's walking by faith, not by sight. When the external wavers, the internal holds. And it's precisely on these days that the universe observes. If you can remain centered in the frequency of abundance, it's because you've become the kind of person who is ready to receive it. Prosperity as legacy. Expanding abundance beyond yourself. The mentor teaches that true prosperity doesn't end in the pocket. It overflows. Those who understand wealth thinking knows that money is just a means to amplify impact. Wealth is serving more, with greater quality and awareness. It's when the purpose stops being about how much I earn and becomes how much I generate. This is how the cycle of abundance is completed. What comes in flows out. What flows out returns multiplied. To prosper is to share. He often says that legacy is not measured in inheritance, but in transformation. What you teach, inspire, and multiply in people is true wealth. A businessman can leave buildings, but a mentor leaves a mindset. A mother can leave assets, but she can also leave faith and example. Millionaire mentality does not seek accumulation, but rather contribution. This is when wealth ceases to be a destination and becomes a path, and on this path, each step has meaning. The mentor tells the story of a former salesman who, after changing his life with financial education, began teaching others how to get out of debt. He discovered that his prosperity grew as he helped more people. This is the secret of how to create wealth from scratch. Help others create too. When prosperity becomes shared, creative imagination for wealth expands, generating new ideas, connections, and solutions that benefit more people. He teaches that those who think too big for themselves think too small. True growth is collective. Therefore, he encourages his students to create a contribution plan, setting aside part of their income, time, or talent to serve. This could be by donating books, mentoring someone, or offering knowledge. This practice strengthens the focus and discipline for wealth naturally, because it teaches the brain to associate growth with generosity, not scarcity. Finally, the mentor reminds us, the universe rewards those who multiply. Prospering isn't about having more, it's about becoming more. It's about aligning material abundance with spiritual wealth. It's about planting seeds in hearts and minds. When solution thinking, not problem thinking, becomes the basis of every decision, you stop being just someone who seeks prosperity and become someone who creates it. And it's at this point that the journey comes full circle, when the student learns so much that they begin to teach. Make your brain obey you and achieve what you want. Napoleon Hill. If you've made it this far, you're no longer the same person who pressed play. You understand that mastering the mind is not a luxury. It is conscious survival. You realize that your external reality is just a reflection of the internal conversations you repeat every day, and that prosperity is not about luck. It is about direction, focus, and discipline for wealth, applied with faith and coherence. Your brain learns from what you practice. So what will it learn from you starting tomorrow? Think. What belief do you need to abandon today to make room for the new? What small habit can you start tomorrow to get closer to the life you dream of? And most importantly, which voice will you choose to listen to? The voice of fear or the voice of faith that drives you? A millionaire mentality is not born of chance, but of intentional repetition. Whatever the mind conceives and believes, it can achieve, as long as you act on it every day. Now it's up to you. If this video made you think, like below, because it shows that this content served you, and subscribe to the channel, so you keep getting new videos about mental reprogramming, wealth thinking, and how create prosperity from scratch, with clarity and applied faith. Also, leave a comment. What phrase, insight, or verse most awakened you today? Because transformation begins when you put into words what you have decided to change. Remember, your brain obeys what you repeat. So choose to repeat what you build. Take a deep breath, lift your head, and go. The future you desire is already waiting for your next command. And I'll see you in the next video.